jump into this, Jerry, because today we're talking about business and really a thrive in 2025 topic, boosting your dollars, boosting your ROI with smart business moves.
Yeah.
You've been talking a lot about SMART. That's not an acronym for something, is it? I'm sure it is, but is it something
Oh,
that popped into your mind?
look, at another time, I can talk to you about what we've done with smart bandages and just smart technology, but nor do I want this to be some sort of, I'm smarter than you or anybody's, you know, what's the word, a prima donna
Hmm,
about how good they are. This is about us all being successful. So I'm really to success, and to be successful, we've got to try hard. We've got to make the right moves, but intelligence and using knowledge and clever moves is really smart.
absolutely. So, g'day, Andre. Thanks for joining. I actually found this post, which this morning I was a little bit prickly, but I can sense some frustration, Jerry. And I actually wanted to start this because if smart is the ideal, some of the stuff that's happening in the industry isn't smart. Now, I don't want to labor this too much, but could we just spend a couple of minutes if I just ask you for a succinct explanation of a couple of these bullet points? You're talking about some of the challenges, some of the wastage in the construction industry and things that we just don't need. I know you've had a bee in your bonnet for a long time around warranty insurance, and insurance companies who are gaining and maybe a bit predatory on our industry and not really giving anything back. Your thoughts on this? 3% wasted on warranty insurance.
100% of the craftsmen builders that I know and contractors, they've never triggered warranty insurance. One, they haven't made the mistake to start off with, or two, if they've made an innocent mistake or they've misrepresented or that they haven't chosen the right color, they're back to fix it up. So
Mm.
it's really insurance has been wasted on anybody doing their job, any smart. And when I say smart, I don't want smart ass. I want people who really are honourable, who measure and are careful and do their job to a high degree. And exceptionalism, I'm right into exceptionalism, except in people trying to say they're better than anybody else.
Mm.
But I'd just like to say that warranty insurance should be unnecessary. We have to be held accountable, and we have to have a means by which we can have our feet held to the fire when we're just about to walk away from something we have to fix up. So that I haven't said
Yeah.
how we've got to have a safety net to the rat bags out there, but for the majority of us trying hard, building well, we don't need that 3% impost
Don't
on our
don't
costs.
need, or perhaps there's just a better way for that money, if unused, to go back into the industry through education, through rewarding people for good quality building
Yeah.
and design. There's 1% document cost. I mean, we've got specification documents which are created, a lot of paperwork being created. You're calling it out of date, and wasted for the industry.
Oh, look, it's just epidemic. We've got this really rampant creation of documents and paper. I was on site yesterday, $500 million project for a major developer, good builder. It's had a bit of financial trouble, but basically is coming good. And we just solved another problem where there was endless documentation that had gone off to portals, that had been logged in, been going backwards and forth. And I held a piece of flat aluminium up to quite a complex brickwork detail, and we solved with two architects exactly what needed to be done. And yet they
Yeah.
could easily have $20,000, $25,000 worth of paperwork behind it, all of which is costing us time and money.
Which adds to the confusion. And we talk about 3% mistakes due to unwanted errors, ignorance, productivity losses, a lot of tick and flick ITPs. I know that gets your blood boiling when you see all of this needless tick and flick quality systems on site. 2% rework, unnecessary maintenance. It's a bit of a grim picture here when you look at all the site unproductivity, un-teamwork. What is un-teamwork?
And teamwork means when look, I get on site and the electrician's sledging the plumber, and all of them are sledging the site manager, the foreman, the people who are organising program, who are rushing them around to one corner and then another corner. They forget to tell them things, and that lack of what I call empire state flow efficiency. We're all in the same team. I mean, why can Australia play great cricket? Why can Australia be a great swimming team, and yet we can't get onto a site and we can't get the sort of flow that built Australia, that built the Empire State Building, from delivery to install in what I understand was under 12 months.
I mean, phenomenal. And really this idea of teamwork where, there's this divide between design, consultants, and then the builder, and often with the trades that are doing the work. And this idea of getting teamwork and flow throughout that process, thinking about cleaning up your area once you're done so that the next trade can come in and just start working
Yeah.
seamlessly.
Now, Stevie, you'll see I've used the term, I've added science. So I've been saying beauty plus craft plus science, and that is the designer plus architect plus contractor plus engineer.
Yeah.
Why can't we get those three people as a sort of like it's not a Batman and Robin, it's the Three Musketeers approach to everything, that we're all working together proudly. And of course, we're better at different things to others, but we can blend those skills together into a synergy that creates this 20% saving. Everybody out there, think of what that means to our bottom line and how much spare money there is to go into other projects.
Yeah, and I think probably one of the things, you add all that up and you're talking about, yep, there's about 21% more of wastage on the industry. And I think one of the key things that we often speak about at Tools is having a common understanding of what compliance and quality looks like. When we're all on the same page, whether you're in design, management, or construction, when we're all on the same page about what the ideal is in terms of craft and quality, it makes communication a lot easier.
And the compliance documents, to all of you listening out there, don't often tell you what you've got to do in some unique combination of what the architect specified, what the material that you've got there the first time you've used something, where you've got to go back to basics and to really achieve the performance objectives of the NCC and your honour and pride. You've guys got to take a step back and you've got to think, what are the first principles, which is why we've got this Science of series coming out now, everybody, in 25, which makes us even smarter because we understand the why behind what we're doing.
So let's talk about the ROI, because construction itself is challenging, whether you're in design or delivery, but then there's the whole business side of it. And that can be a minefield of things. There's so much new technology out there as well, and trying to cobble your various subscriptions together, communications with clients, paperwork, and then actually doing the work on top of that, and making sure that you're doing work that's got quality and compliance built in. It's not an easy thing. And Jerry, you talk about this, if you want to talk us through a couple of these points. Oops, I'm going the wrong direction. Mistake free. So as a business owner out there listening and saying, well, I run a business, or I'm part of a team, how is it I'm going to start to move towards mistake free work?
You have to have you've got to have a quality culture. You've got to have this attitude. And most of the tradesmen that I've dealt with, the craftsmen that I've dealt with, they were sure-footed. It was look before you leap. They were purposeful. They went to work to be successful. They did not make mistakes. So it's quite unusual for me. I go onto sites and I sort of think, well, why would you come to work to make mistakes? Why didn't you pick that up? Why didn't you clean that surface correctly? Why isn't that level and plumb? Why isn't that corner square? So there's the ingredients there for mistake free, but I still see little simple basic things done that could become a defect, could be picked up by somebody. We need to be careful, less careless.
And I think probably the main thing there is culture. Having a culture where there's pride in your craft, and getting back to that, I guess that culture where I think a lot of people, if I just rewind back, I don't think people go to work to make mistakes, right? But inevitably through shortcuts, maybe their project's running behind, maybe they feel there's not enough budget, shortcuts happen, and they'll forego quality often just for speed. So I think
but there are some granular things there too. There's nothing wrong with being very good at cleaning something and dusting things out of a corner and understanding. So you'll see that the science of what we do helps you be mistake free. I don't want us to be OCD and obsessed about every aspect of what we do, but we've got to have a minimum standard. And most of that's a lot better than what we're doing in the same time. So we can do it well in the same time, in my opinion.
I mean, there is, I think, and look, I can't comment too much on global construction, but certainly in Australia, there is a little bit of a drive for speed. I mean, we're under the pump in terms of the amount of construction projects that we need to get out of the door. And so this idea of speed at the cost of quality and compliance is out there. And are you essentially saying that if we've got some of those basic ideas of quality culture, we've got access to compliance, clear knowledge, that we can achieve speed and quality?
Yeah, it's a false economy, this story of speed, because I'm shameless about my ability to get jobs done. It made no difference to me to dust that corner, to make sure that I'd sanded a surface, that I'd checked a surface prior to final coat. You'll see that the painting tool came out today as one of the granular trade things, which is really quite special for me. Now, all aspects of that little bit of time checking a surface prior to top coat just made so much difference to the sparkle of what we come up with.
I haven't had a good look at the paint, Tom. Do you want to talk about this very
yeah. Oh, look, you're kind to me. Look, most of you know that I'm an architect designer, and I've done lots of other things as well. So I'm a licensed contractor, but I'm not arrogant about this. I'm a really good painter. I loved it. People told me stuff. I read the back of the back of the cans and the back of the packages, and so I'd know most things. But if you go back to some of these things, these best practice. So just stay on the side panel. Don't like side panels, but this is a good one. Always mix your paint. So sometimes people don't stir and mix paint, so that the chemical composition, the science, and put up with me. This is smart, so commonsensical. And I don't want to lecture you peeps out there, but there's nothing wrong with being really careful and thinking like a craftsman, and knowing that the science of your paint has been very well developed by Dulux and some of the great chemical companies out there. But if you don't mix the chemicals together correctly, and if you don't mix the tint together, the paint is not going to perform as you want. Then there are other trade tips there on there. So obviously the prep. To me, you'll see we put on our ometer. This is the first time I've ever seen this in any of the manuals. We've put in, just if you go to the top of the screen there, Siva, see how we put the light source there?
Yeah.
One of the major advantages for anybody putting finishes on is to be looking into the light as you apply it. So you're really careful. So you're not only using best practice technique, which is either brush, roller, spray, but you're also looking very closely to make sure that any defects in your application technique come in. You'll see we've got gloss levels. We've got all those things that even if you're an architect designer, never used a paintbrush, never used a roller, you at least know exactly what all the craftsmen and tradesmen know about all the different gloss levels, the different textures.
I know you're passionate about mold or the lack of it, so
we've got to be aware of this. You've got to be aware of the dampness in your space. You've got to be aware of the dampness in your material. You've got to understand what moisture meters mean. These are smart. This is all this accumulated smartness that allows us to be mistake-free, defect-free.
And a lot of this, when we're talking about culture, quality culture, right? A lot of this is passed on from through generations of painters, this knowledge, but just essentially having this readily available for people to browse through, read, and also disseminate, to share to others. I think that
this is the craftsman. These are dozens of craftsmen. I did Danish craftsmen teach me how to apply gloss. This is when they were an oil-based gloss, and just how his brushwork was exquisite, and he cross-hatched. And so you've got, most of you out there, hopefully you've done a bit of painting, but if you haven't, you've got all the technical aspects here that make you much more knowledgeable. We will have exterior soon. We'll have other things being added to the paintometer that allows you to look at it and at least be up to speed and be able to give good advice to both your client, and also to be able to chat in the same language with any tradesman, craftsman doing the work.
Excellent. And if I just take a moment here and just go through some tools basics. The tools, the graphical representation of the building codes. You can find, zoom, share. So one of the things that we're really looking to do is to be able to share this knowledge. So you can zoom into a detail, generate a share link, And I also always encourage people using this to actually zoom into the detail, and you can share that. And Andrea, you're on the call here. I can share that with you, and then the recipient, they can get access to that knowledge. Some of the other things that we've added to this, Jerry, are code citations, so that we can, and let me find one with code citations.
The good part about this is that there was an emphasis in the early days of people saying, well, where's this coming from? And we'd say, well, obviously this is all taken from NCC and all the reference documents, and we didn't have the citations in. So we've entered the citations. I've had nobody say to me that they are going back to the citations unless they're into some sort of conflict or court matter, where they can, again, they can very simply, they can show the tribunal, they can show the arbitrator, they can show the court, they can show a barrister this drawing, and they can click the citation and go back to the relevant clause in the NCC and or the reference document.
Absolutely. So do check it out. If you haven't checked it out, you can go into this menu. You can even go to view all tools, and there's 296. We haven't quite hit the 300 there, but there is a plethora of information there. So coming back to this, a mistake-free, defect-free, conflict-free. I mean, there's so many issues on site, Jerry, just because of differing views of perhaps the same detail.
Yeah.
People misinterpretation or different interpretation of the codes.
And can I put us at the end of smart and just say, look, I'm commonly dealing with no, not alls. And look, all of you that if ever you think I'm discriminating against anybody, you've got me wrong. I'm an identical twin, and everybody out there, even people who don't know what they should know, and people who are wrong or offensive, they're still okay. I just don't want to have to argue with them. So I'll quickly flick up a detail that's on tools, and I can clarify a fire door gap or something that they're arguing about, or a gradient or a ramp slope.
So really, I mean, we look at these, and these are lovely ideas: to be mistake-free, to be defect-free, to have low or no conflict, reduce stress, when we all love that, ultimately reduce loss, not only on our own practice.
From all of those four above, you've got,
Yep.
And remember, stress creates an emotional, societal loss. So that's why I'm not into, making a mistake and then having the stress of it, going home and not making profit, coming to work and having some bully stress you because they're just bad. They're just bad people. These are all losses that we're carrying, financial or societal or emotional.
Well, let's talk about that. So it's nice to talk about this. So let's say that I'm in a particular situation where I want to use knowledge from tools to actually create that. What should we go to? Let's go to ramps and walkways, for example. That's a different one.
That's external. So it's all got the maintenance walkways as well.
Yep. So let's talk. Let's say we're dealing with a particular detail. All right. So I can zoom in. And what are some ways that this is going to reduce conflict, stress, defects, mistakes, versus
concrete is not going to put that at that landing. They won't put a crossfall in it. So it's essentially a flat landing. And I've dealt with concreters now for 5 decades. I find they are particularly respectful. When I was younger, I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and they'd put up with me. I'd say, let's make sure there's no ponding. Now I just hold up tools and just say, look, we've got a slope in everything. You'll see that one of the things that we launched today is our drainage signs. So everything's got a slope in it. So, and the 1428, which is where most of these ramp geometries come from, although it is mandated in the NCC, it does call up the access standard. So we illustrated all the concepts of Newton's science, Isaac Newton's science in, I think it was 1687, decided that he would articulate Newton's law, which is basic gravity. So we put all the ingredients of drainage science into one drawing called our drainage science.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful way for people to be able to remind themselves if they're just having a quiet time, or if they've got a couple of subordinates who are not careful about getting slopes and getting overlaps and creating completely dry buildings that don't, and believe it or not, the dryness is not just about the embarrassment of water getting in. Any moisture that gets into your building that's uncontrolled can lead to mold creation, which if you've got a son who's got, daughter's got asthma, or somebody who gets allergies, it's just disgusting.
Yeah. I love that, the drainage science. And obviously we're talking about mold prevention, which we're back on the paintometer. So this idea of integration of trades, understanding how the trade or the craft of one person then affects people down the line, and this includes design, right? It starts at the
Absolutely.
design stage.
Now, I had this despair moment about 3 weeks ago, and I was thinking, oh, look, people aren't curious. And this teacher said to me, everybody's implicitly curious. So there's nothing wrong with you believing that, yes, you have to blend a few things together. Don't make mistakes. Understand that when you're going to build a defect, avoid conflict on site by making sure you don't make mistakes, and get on with people who might know more than you do, and also teach and educate via share those who don't know as much as they should.
I think that's one of the keys here, is that in order to achieve all this, firstly, let's get clear about what craft and quality. So quality meaning including the building code standards, but also what the extras that make something of high quality. So being very clear about that, but then also being able to share, specify, mandate that to the people you rely on. So if you're on a designer, if you're in the design cohort, Andre, I don't know what exactly you do. Maybe you want to drop us a message and tell us what aspect of construction you're in. But if you're in design, being able to then refer to elements within within tools that can graphically communicate how you want that building built. Being able to potentially bundle that together into a specification, a graphical specification. So if you haven't checked it out, Spec Tools is a graphical specification product that allows you to create specifications using tools graphics, and that can then easily be passed down the line to the builder and then to the builder's trades. We're getting increasing engagement with certifiers, Jerry, which is very exciting. The AAC are on board with their members using tools.
Of course, I'm chuffed. Look, I think we're all just helping ourselves, and tools is just what I'd like to say, universal knowledge, universal craftsmanship. But it's really nice to think that the certifiers, one, will have less to do because they're passing on this knowledge, they're helping teach. So when they defect something or they say it's not to code, they're able to very quickly share a proper spreader design or just give tips. And often the certifiers themselves, they don't even know what the correct painting process is. I mean, so there are more and more carpenters coming into the certified buildings surveyors industry, but a lot of the certifiers are academically trained and they may not have had the trade skills. And it's so nice to have an illustration of exactly how a tradesman would do it, tradesperson.
And Andre, thanks, Andre. You mentioned working client side as a project manager. I think as a project manager, that's one of the ultimate octopus kind of roles, because you've got multiple stakeholders, multiple egos, multiple personalities that you've got to deal with, and multiple interpretations, no doubt, of what quality is. A designer might think it's one thing, the engineer might think it's something else, and then the builder and the tradesman has a different interpretation again, and you're in the middle trying to coordinate that. Not an easy role. Jerry.
And it's all affecting productivity because those 4 cohorts are all looking at things. They all have their own view. Whereas I think the basis of most trades, the source of truth, remains the same. Materials change, geometry changes, colours change, finishes change, but the basic geometry of it that you have to manage, Andre, stays the same.
Absolutely. So, Andre, one of the things you can do as a PM is to create folders within the project section. You can bundle different tools together. You can then download those as PDF, or you can share those. You can share a link to that, and then the people that you rely upon to get it right, to deliver ultimately the product that you need, and also deliver it in a mistake, defect, conflict, low stress way. You can.
It's okay to get it right.
Yeah,
maybe that's the smartest thing of today, is that why not just stop before you make a mistake? I had this interesting discussion with a strong financial project, again, a project manager type builder. He was more on the operational side and the productivity side. He'd never ever costed the cost of defects. And I had this long discussion with him. The ROI of not having that defect created, you still inspect it, you still check it, but not having to raise it and Procore it and send it into the system and then have to pay somebody to come and re-inspect it. The ROI on that is a very smart 0.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned before that was this a teacher mentioned that people are inherently curious if they're engaged, if knowledge is interesting and engaging. And I think in today's world where we're short, attention spans are shorter than ever, being able to just rapidly communicate construction compliance in a fun, engaging way, graphically, I think is definitely one way you can really create that teamwork. So one of the points I put in here was communicate to team and customers. This is getting back to the culture, Jerry, is that communicate internally and say, look, we're making a stand for quality. We're making a product like tools and other materials available to all of you, and watch their curiosity. We've got one of the great things about tools is you can get data on what tools are most popular. It's amazing looking at the journey that people take when they start exploring tools, and the inherent curiosity being able
Look
to
at BlueScope's response, Siva. Remember them looking at the valley detail with us,
Yep.
and just their curiosity for that.
Yep. Yep, 100%. Yeah, BlueScope Steel are very, very interested in communicating their quality standards graphically. It's all about knowledge and the communication of knowledge, right? So if it's easy and it's no longer in the too hard basket, we can get some of that. And also in terms of customers, as a customer, I want to rely upon you, Mr. and Mrs. Professional, to get it right. I don't want headaches, right? And so if you're pitching for my work and I'm getting 3 quotes, if I see an organization that's using a quality system like tools, you're going to win more business. You're going to impress me. You're going to stand out. So these graphics, even if you're a lay person, everybody knows what, you can look at that and go, okay, well, that looks like a roof, a metal roof to me.
Even the QMSs that I'm seeing, I remember I've watched 5 decades of people promising, yes, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Nobody showed me how they were going to do it. So there was good intentions. I can say the industry was noble, but there was all hat, no cattle.
Yeah.
So they're saying, here, we've got the QMS, we're doing this, we're doing that, blah, 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 blah. Well, tools provides the how to the QMS. And it's a relentless, reliable, provable, findable resource that everybody can turn to before they've made the mistake and made a dumb choice in 25.
Just a couple of little things, Andre. If you weren't aware, so you can generate a spec block, a specification block, which creates a QR code, and that's locked in time. So I've specified this for NCC 22. That can then be put onto a document. It can be put onto a drawing. And even if it's accessed 2-3 years from now, it'll go back to this version. One of the things the team is busily working on at the moment is the NC or prepping for the NCC 2025 changes. And as a
May 1st, 25.
Yeah, it'll about May, right, Jerry? Yeah. So what you'll get you'll get the NCC switcher, and soon we'll have NCC 2025. You'll simply be able to change the switcher, and all of the codes will magically update to the latest codes. And I say often it's nothing magic. There's a lot of work that goes behind enabling that. But our mantra is let's make education and knowledge easy to access. All right, Jerry?
Sure.
So, okay, so that's the ROI. It comes down to communication. Andre, this is so good. With all focus on technology, I wonder why people in the industry are not focusing more on a solution such as tools. Thank you, very kind. So much more value than anything. Andre, this is not, yes, it is a fantastic innovation, but in its essence, what it's doing is it's solving communication. That's all it is. More than, I would say, 80% of the problems in this world could be resolved with good communication. And what this does is it graphically communicates the requirements. Nice and easy. Doesn't matter if you speak a different language, if English is your second language, whether you're a visual person, a text person, you can sit alongside somebody and explain that a lot easier.
We had Saudi Arabia approach us, and I said, imagine if Gaza and Syria and Sudan were being rebuilt using Arabic tools. It's that easier. It's that easy to make those changes.
Well, unfortunately, it's good. There's a ceasefire going on there, but there's a lot of work to do to rebuild those. So imagine being able to just widely distribute a product like this, which clearly communicates building standards.
We've got 2 million Palestinians who are feeling helpless and frustrated, and all they need are the right tools to get going. So don't get me started. That would be a very, very smart decision societally and globally for us to get behind everybody having access to tools in their language.
So we're talking about smart. So we'll finish off with this. One of the things that we're going to be doing in the next sessions is around deep diving into the tools. So Jerry, we're going to next tool shed, we're going to talk about cladding basics. We're going to deep dive into ramps and walkways.
This is the calendar for the for the rest of this quarter.
Swing door clearances. Our analytics show that a swing door clearance is one of the most popular tools, which is amazing because I hadn't expected it. But a lot of people, this is one of our most popular tools. Being able to come in and set your door, the door type. So you say, well, I've got a hinge side door and it's a meter wide. Right, so you can set using the ohmmeters and it'll give you the clearances. All of that dynamically changes and doesn't matter which path you're traveling, that'll update. So popular tool. We'll go into that a bit more and we're going to be really covering, Jerry, the science of what's the why behind this. Some of it might be obvious.
There'll be a bit of that, but sometimes it'll just be raising. It will be raising. Sorry, I just had a feed from an investment client wanting me to look at a large hotel somewhere. So it will be looking at the science, but this looking at some of these tools in this first quarter, it allows you to see possibly why we've done this. So formwork finishes. Well, I mean, I'm not often looking at class 1 formwork, but I've often left it. I've left it to the engineer. I've left it to the concreter. I want to be able to go there before they make a mistake in the entry of a $15 million building, or it might be just one beautiful class 1 finish in a residential home, a letterbox with a recess. I want to make sure that we pointed out to them that you'll be measured by this level of quality.
Yeah, and on that, again, with making this knowledge shareable, you can set the class, so this and all of this information updates, and then you can either share it, download the PDF, add it to a project, or create a spec block, right? So
it's just really smart, and you may not do any of those things other than just send it off. And a lot of our customers have got their own version of tools, so it's AAC tools. When they share it, it's a brand thing. So they share class 1 and say, "Hey, George, we know you're a great concreter, but these are the standard. These are the quality standards required for class 1 concrete, and we'll be using this if there's any dispute because we are smart and we don't want conflict."
That's it. I think that's about all. Andre, if you've got any questions, drop us a note. Thank you for joining us. But these are the future. This is our curriculum, if you will. If there's any requests, send us a message. The last thing is that you can always get support from tools through the feedback. So we've got them here. We've also got them on the side panels, if I can find one. So you can just drop in feedback, whether it's technical, general feedback, and then our team will be monitoring that. And we can go from there. But thank you for joining us, Jerry. Conflict free.
See you in the shed next week.
Cheers.